So you found a 3D model that you want to print and you want to make a statue. The only problem is that you have small 3D printers and you want to be able to cut up your pieces to multiple pieces so that you'll be able to 3D print them and also build a statue. So today I'm going to show you guys how to slice them up in MeshMixer. And so MeshMixer is a free program that you can download, and I'll leave a link down for you below. So right now I have my 3D print right here. It's a Leafeon Pokemon. Right off the bat, it's angled in a weird way and there's also some spots here. So what I'm going to show you guys is how to fix this. So first, I don't like where it's angled at, so his front face is right here. So I'm going to click front, make sure he's in the front. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click edit, transform. So you're going to see the circle that pops up here. So be careful that you don't press this because you don't want to overstretch it. Just hit Control Z. If you do, hit it by accident. So make sure you click your buttons carefully. And then you want to rotate it all the way to here. So right there, it looks good. I'm going to hit accept. So once you hit accept, what you want to do is get used to the whole moving around thing. So right here, I'm using a mouse scroll to zoom in and zoom out. You can also hold the mouse scroll and then you can also drag like so. So right there, you're able to drag. And then if you right click, you're able to rotate 360 around. So get used to it. Make sure you get used to the UI. So right here, I want to be able to fix these two dots. This is basically telling me that there's a hole or something that is not connected together. A lot of times you're going to find 3D models that have problems. So what you want to do is you want to click Analyze right over here. So once you click Analyze, you're going to go over here to Inspector. You're going to hit Inspector. And then you want to do Auto Repair All. So the unique thing about MeshMixer is that they have an inspector system where it fixes your 3D print and makes sure that it's all ready to print without any issues or problem. So this is very helpful in case you have a very messed up 3D print. All right, so the next thing we gotta do is we're gonna have our 3D printer onto the screen. We need the 3D printer to show up so that we can be able to measure our parts. So right here, you're gonna click print and your 3D printer should show up here. But the only problem is it's not the correct size for your 3D printer. So you wanna go ahead and click printer properties. Once you hit printer properties, you should know your width, depth, and height for your 3D printer. So make sure you know the size for your 3D printer. So for mine's gonna be 300 by 300 and the height's gonna be 340. So you're gonna hit apply and then you're gonna hit print again. So right there is your 3D printer setup. So we're gonna take our statue and then we're gonna hit transform and we're gonna just slide it over away from the 3D printer. Now you got your setup all correct. We're gonna move on to the next step. So right now he's a little bit too small because what we want to do is build a life-size Leafeon. I'm going to have to increase his size. So if you go over here, you go to edit and then you go to transform. The measurement that they're using is millimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out his life-size real height. And then I'm going to input it into size Z. So I have a website that's already pulled up for his size. And right here it says 3 feet and 3 inches. So what I'm going to go and do next is going to type in 3 feet and 3 inches to millimeters. So right here, there's a conversion unit that you can put in from here. So it's 3.25 foot into 990.6 millimeters. So we're going to go ahead and copy this. And then we're going to go right back to MeshMixer. So right here, we're going to go hit Control and V into 99.6. So make sure that uniform scaling is on so that X, Y will be converted also with Z. So once we hit enter, you'll have a life-size Leafeon. So you can see that there's a difference between your little small 3D printer and then the size of this. So what we're going to do next is now cut it up to pieces and see if it fits into your 3D printer. So what I'm going to show you guys is how I cut the model in the most simplest beginner-friendly way. What you want to do is you want to go ahead and click select. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it from, I'm thinking of the way it looks. You see how the groove is right here? The best way to do this is to imagine how it's going to look when you're printing it. So right here, I'm thinking of just like right here, just like that. Because I don't want it to be angled weird on the 3D printer. So I'm going to print it from here, just like so. So make sure that when you cut it, you want to be able to cut it in a way where it won't fail on your 3D printer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to edit, And then I'm gonna go to all the way down to plain cut. Once you hit plain cut, it's gonna pop out like this. So if you look closely, you could see the orange paint that you painted on. So I don't want it to angle like this. I feel like it's weird to angle like that. So the way I'm gonna angle it, I'm gonna try to see if I can tilt it a little bit. So hit front just to make sure. All right. And then I just wanna angle it just like this. I'm feeling this way. So right there, I make sure to see the orange paint that I painted on. I want to stay right between it. I don't want to like venture off too far. So you see how like right here, that's where your paint is also. So you gotta have to make sure that everything is perfectly aligned. Once you look at it and take a good look at it and you like how it looks, what you want to go over here is cut type. So you want to go change the cut type to slice both. So you want to keep both of them and hit accept. You don't see anything that happened, right? So that's because we didn't separate them yet. So what you want to do is you want to go to edit and you want to do separate shells. And right here, a window should pop up and it will tell you 2 items will be in this whole thing. So we got this item, basically the whole item of the Leafeon. And then we got this item, which is the one that we cut and sliced. So right here, what we're going to do is we're going to hit edit and transform. And we're going to lift it off from his tail, just like that. And then we're going to hit accept. Just make sure that when you're lifting it, you don't click on this square thing or this blue thing or any of it. Like, just don't, well, actually you can click that, I guess, but whatever. But don't click on the green square. Don't click on this blue square, because if you click on that, you'll increase the size and you'll mess it up. So be very, very careful on where you click. Where you want to click is just the arrows, so you can be able to lift it up and lift it down. So once you got that all set up, what you want to do is you want to hit accept. So the reason why I do that is to separate the print from its actual life-size model, just to get an idea of what's taken apart. So here's the next part. I want to make sure that this 3D print will fit into the 3D printer right here. You actually have to hit transform, go all the way here, and then bring it all the way down until it goes right in there. So I do this just to get like an accurate view of how it should look. So right there off the bat, I look at it and I'm like, okay, it looks pretty good. I do have a rule of thumb. I try not to print for the height. I'm not trying to print it all the way to the top, because you know things can happen. Your filament can mess up. So here you can kind of just get a good angle and try to figure out how it was gonna look. And if it looks good and it looks like it fits in there perfectly without any problems, that's perfect. That's actually what I need. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna Control Z, bring it back to right here so that I remember where it was. So right now, what you want to do is you want to be able to import this piece right here. So make sure, don't click on the whole piece like this, but click on just this piece right here. You want to import this into a folder. So we're going to change the name. We're going to change it to tail number 1. I like to save into a folder like 3D model to make sure that it's all organized. So you're going to hit save. So right now, this piece is now exported as its own STL file. All right, so right now I'm using Cura Slicer and I'm going to be importing the STL file from here. So I'm going to go ahead and open file and I'm going to hit tail 1. So right here, we have our 3D print all set up and it fit exactly how I imagined. So I'm going to go ahead and set it up, making sure that it fits properly onto the slicer and also the 3D printer. The layer height that I like to do it at is 0.15, which is normal. Sometimes people like to do it in 0.2 to save filaments, but I prefer 0.15 because I'm used to that. So keep changes. So now, to make sure that the print goes perfectly, I always take a look during preview to see how it looks. So what I'm doing is I'm slicing it up, and then after that, I'm gonna hit preview. So right here, it says it's going to take 9 hours to finish, which is quite normal because of my layer heights and my infill. So right here, you can tell that it looks perfectly fine. So you can see how it prints. See? So everything looks good. And that's where you save the file and start printing this piece right away. Now that everything is set up on Slicer, I start cutting up the tail to multiple pieces. Just make sure when you cut up the pieces, make sure that you cut it up in a proper area so that it will remain flat on the 3D print. But other than that, take your time on it and don't rush. So right here, I got all the pieces set up just like this. There's 8 pieces for all my tail. So just like that, you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna try to cut multiple pieces on the legs, the head, and don't be afraid to cut them into smaller pieces to make as long, because what you want to do is you want to make sure that you be able to cut it. You want to make it as easy as possible for your 3D printer to be able to print, because if you don't, you're going to be wasting a lot of hours on failed prints. So make sure you cut it in a way where it remains flat as possible on the 3D printer. If you guys like to see more builds like this, you can watch my videos up in the corner. I built a Charmander before, and I also built a Weezing before. And if you guys like to see more, you guys can check it out here.